closer. Bring your chair closer.
Pardon me.
Did we finish the 15th one? Nobody knows.
We did.
Let's finish. It's a hard one.
Yes, we did. Swami, we did. How do you know?
We don't know. We know, but we don't know.
How do you know we finished?
Only by notes, Swami.
Unless Mom did.
What do the notes say?
What did it say?
The notes say, when this cloak shatters, the cloak of the words.
Pardon me? What? Yeah, no, that was done. But the one after that. The one after that. 15.
Oh, Shaktam.
When the Maya shatters, what remains is that one.
Ah,
The
what remains that, yeah.
simple.
Yes. So, it's kind of finished. A little more. Needs to go in the kiln. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shriyam Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaihi Stushturbhagum Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitai Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vridhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedah Swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi Swasti no brihaspati dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Sahana bhavatu Sahana bhunaktu Saha viryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Whose asanam is this?
Awesome. Nobody's.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Without bodies.
Huh? Yeah.
I don't know, Swami.
It's in the direct line of my sight. Start chanting from the beginning. Manodhid vividham proktam shuddham cha shuddhamev cha ashuddham kama sankalpam shuddham kama vivarjitam mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoh bandhaya vishayasaktam muktam nirvishayam smritam yato nirvishayasyasya manaso muktirishyate ato nirvishayam nityam मनः कार्यं मुमुक्षुणा निरस्तविषया सन्निरुद्धं मनोहृदि यदा यात्यात्मनोभावं तदा परमं पदम् तावदेव निरोद्धव्यं यावद्धृतिगतं क्षयम् एतज्ज्ञानं च ध्यानं च ततो शेषो न्यायश्च विस्तरः नैव चिन्त्यं न चाचिन्त्यं चिन्त्यं चिन्त्यमेव च पक्षपातविनिर्मुक्तं ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा स्वरेण सन्धयेत् योगम् अस्वरं भावयेत् परम् अस्वरेणानुभावेन भावो नाभावयिष्यते तदेव निष्कलं ब्रह्म निर्विकल्पं निरञ्जनम् तद्ब्रह्माहमिति ज्ञात्वा ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते ध्रुवम् निर्विकल्पमनन्तं च हेतुदृष्टान्तवर्जितम् अप्रमेयमनादिं च यज्ञात्वा मुच्यते बुधः न निरोधो न चोत्पत्तिः
न बन्धो न च
साधकः न मुमुक्षुर्न वैमुक्तः एष परमार्थता एक एवात्ममन्तव्यः जाग्रत्स्वप्नसुषुप्तिषु स्थानत्रयव्यतीतस्य पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते एक एव हि भूतात्मा भूते भूते व्यवस्थितः एकधा बहुधा चैव दृश्यते जलचन्द्रवत् घटसंवृतमाकाशं नीयमाने घटे यथा घटो नीयेतनाकाशं तथा जीवो नभोपमः घटवद्विविधाकारं विद्यमानं पुनः पुनः तत्कर्णं न च जानाति स जानाति च नित्यशः शब्दमायावृतो नैव तमसा याति पुष्करे भिन्ने तमसि चैकत्वम् एक एवानुपश्यति. Very nicely done. So, I told you that there were two meanings for the word Pushkara. What were they? The one who pushes. Push, karoti. No? The one who pushes is Pushkara. Huh? What is Pushkara? Huh? Space, one meaning. What is the other meaning? Yeah, see, it is the end of the course. We are having a final exam today. Yeah. Yeah, so that's why. Space. Another one?
The one that nurtures.
Spaced out. Blue lotus is called Pushkara. Yeah. So, I told you the first one applies more, the meaning, because suddenly where this lotus will come from, correct? Yeah. And we were talking about space. Which space? Pot space. We were talking about pot space. Yeah, don't look spaced out. We were talking about pot space. And that pot space, you know, here, where is the pot space? Right here inside, okay? Yeah. See? You can see the space. So the pot space doesn't move when the pot is moved from here to there. Does the pot move? No. So the space, pot moves? Yes. Does the space move? No. Space does not at all move. Space is stationary. Space is itself. Space simply is. So too, this Atma doesn't move. Body goes from here to India and back to, America, body has gone. The Atma has not had a plane ride because plane is Atma. That's the plain truth. And, the people in the plane are Atma. The sky in the space in which this space is traveling is also Atma. Everything is Atma. So, Atma doesn't travel. The body-mind sense complex that houses this space, this spacious Atma, this accommodative, commodious Atma that accommodates everything. That's why it is likened to space. That, doesn't travel. Everything else may travel. We have seen that. And then, after seeing that, we also saw one more, that when the pot breaks, the pot repeatedly breaks, that is its nature, keeps breaking, When the pot breaks, does the space break? No, the space doesn't break. And also, the pot keeps breaking, but the pot doesn't know I lived before, now I have been recrafted as a pot. It doesn't know that, poor thing. So basically, this is what we have been seeing, and suddenly now, Shabdamaya Vritaha, Shabdamaya Vritaha, so covered in a net of words. Yeah, it's like fish net stockings, yeah. So it's like a net of words. What kind of words? Useless verbiage. What is verbiage? Verbal garbage. Verbiage. Yeah. That's all it is. Verbiage. Atma is this, Atma is that, it is finite, it is bliss, it is this. No, without understanding. So many concepts. And then, somebody says, I'm practicing, I asked this person, what do you do? I'm practicing soul retrieval. I said, what? It's not a dog, Here, puppy, come back, you can retrieve the dog that has gone away. It's not a puppy. Soul retrieval. And I said, I hope you mean SOLE. That is possible. Especially on the, train station in the Mumbai metro. Yeah, because everybody gets in in a hurry. You don't have to get in. People behind you make sure that you alight the train. Both ways. You don't have to come out, whether it's your station or not, you are ejected. And in the process of this getting in and getting out, sometimes what remains, you leave your souls behind. SOLES. The chappal remains behind while climbing into the metro. So I told this lady, I hope you mean soul retrieval, SOLE. No, SOUL. I said, how to retrieve something that is never lost? I was lost, okay? And, and then I was worried she'll try to retrieve me. So I asked a few more questions. And then she said, some people's soul is torn into bits. And one piece is somewhere, one piece is hanging. The Atma of this person in this life is hanging in the past life. And she appoints herself for a small fee of a few $1,000s to go back into this person's past life, time travel, and get that piece of SOUL and stitch it with some kind of thread. Of course, all this is invisible. It is purely Shraddha, okay? Belief, faith. And then what? Then that's it. Then after that, it's all over and the person feels whole again. This is a fish net. Yeah, you're caught in the net. That's what it is. So you have to be very, very careful of these kinds of nets, because the net total of this kind of teaching is that you don't go anywhere. Brahma na sampadhyate dhruvam. Dhruvam means certainly Brahman is not gained. What is gained is a huge complex and misunderstanding, and one is blinking life after life, Why is one keeping on blinking? Because past life, Christmas lights. That's why one is keeping on blinking. In this life also, wink, 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 one goes. This is what it is, confused. So I am confused. Anyan confusayanti ye janaha. These kinds of people, they confuse others also. This is the problem. So here, Shabdamaya Vritaha. But here, very interestingly, we saw the meaning of space. So the jiva, so here, who is covered by the fishnet of wrong conclusions? The jiva, correct? And tamasa, due to ignorance, nayati pushkare, doesn't identify with that space which we talked about as the pot, correct? Which doesn't move in the pot, right? So that was the first meaning. Bhinne tamasi, bhagne tamasi, when the tamas is broken, when the ignorance is addressed and resolved, then what happens? Ekatvam eva anupashyati. Anu means in keeping with the Shruti, pashyati. In keeping with the Shruti, pashyati. What pashyati? Ekatvam anupashyati. And this is going to be repeated later, so I'm going to save some other, some more discussion on this for later. This is going to be repeated. I'm going to contrast some other Upanishads' way of stating the same thing, and we will have fun seeing that. But I want to get to the blue lotus. I'm going to defer that for later. So now, if we take the second meaning of Pushkara as a rare blue lotus, then the one who is yati is not the jiva. Who is the one who yati? The one who is, what is it that goes near the blue lotus? What approaches the blue lotus? Bees, yeah. So here the jiva is akin to the bee that is buzzing around the blue lotus and unable to get inside, you see. So the jiva is, and the blue lotus represents the nectar, amritam, of this knowledge. And why is the bee unable to, get to the lotus? Because the lotus here is covered by the fog, and the bee perhaps doesn't have very good smell receptors, not blessed by good olfactory nerves, only is relying on the sight, and it knows it is near, but it doesn't know where it is. You see, it knows it is near, so it's going around and around this blue lotus, nayati pushkare. And so this jiva, who just doesn't know how to be, is identifies as the doer and as the one done in, and is always skirting around the knowledge covered in fog. The knowledge is as though covered in fog because the person says, I don't see the knowledge, I don't see Brahman as myself. Why? Because my vision is covered in fog. But being, having a human mind, the person projects the fog onto poor Brahman, which here is Pushkara, represented by the blue lotus. One more meaning. Now I was also thinking of another way to look at it. Suppose we say that it's not just the bee that approaches the lotus. What else approaches the lotus? Sunlight. Sunlight approaches the lotus, and the lotus is is one of the few flowers that blooms in the presence of the sun. We have seen this in Bodhasara. It blooms, only in the presence of the sun, and during sundown it closes back, and then again when the sun rises it blossoms. So, tamasa avrita, tamasa avritaha, pushkaraha. So now the lotus represents the person's closed up heart, the non-commodious, uncompassionate heart, not touched by knowledge, not touched by kindness, including kindness to oneself. Forget being kind to others, at least be compassionate to yourself. No, I'm going to beat myself up half of the day. What are you going to do the other half? I'm going to beat you up. That's all. That's why I got married, half and half. That's all it is. So this is not the way. So Vedanta, the purpose of Vedanta is not to, just to say a few strung Sanskrit words. It's not about stringing Sanskrit words. It's to stop being strung out, and it's to understand that one is the source of all compassion. Is that heart has to open, otherwise Vedanta has lost its charm, has no use. And of course, it is tempting to look around and count, okay, yes, open heart, non-open heart, open heart, non-open heart, and then, chalk up and, oh, this person, how many years have they studied Vedanta? So many years they have studied, still the heart is shut. What's the use? And you look to the left, well, I don't know about this one, but me, I'm doing very well, Or conversely, all the people are much better than me, I am a loser. How come I can't be kind? How come I can't be compassionate? How many years I have been studying Vedanta? Either of them is as bad as the other. One is directed within, one is projected without. It's the same problem. The problem is self-judgment. Even when you judge others, it's actually you spot it, you got it. That is the thing. If you see something in others that you don't like, that means that it is there within you. Really. So here, this Pushkara is tightly closed. It refuses to open. Oh, maybe the sun has not risen. Sun has risen. Still it refuses to open. Why? Because it is surrounded by pollution. Atmospheric pollution of vague ideas, wrong theologies, useless conclusions, silly confusions, self-judgment, self-critique, so much so that it will not allow the sun to come. So Nayati, here that Atma Prakasha, Nayati in the form of the knowledge given by the Guru Mukhat. So the Guru's, the Guru is holding the knowledge, shining the light in the form of the knowledge. So the teaching is the sunlight, and then the one refusing to open, the budding theologist in the room, refuses to flower. Why? Because he's surrounded by misbeliefs, Shabda Jala, an evil trick of misbeliefs. Atma is like this, Atma is like that. Why I have to study? I can just get it. Yesterday, I dreamt of Atma. Shubhamastu, you say. How can you dream of Atma? Dreamer is Atma. No. It was like a vague ball. And then it descended, Then I knew I had knowledge. This is what it is. What you saw descend was that ball in the Times Square on New Year's Day. That's the only thing that descends. Other than the colon, descending colon. That's all. Nothing else descends. Okay? Yeah. There's no ascension and descension. There's all kinds of mistakes. First you attain Brahman. In the beginning we were all Brahman. And then what happened? Now we have descended to become Jivas. Nayati Pushkare. Pushkara is up there, somewhere. You have to ascend because we have descended. Oh, but that sounds like Christianity. No, it is not Christianity. It's our own mint, our own brand. This is what it is. Even in the Hindu Dharma, many people believe this. So how to ascend? You have to go to this place, Vaikuntha. And that is the version of heaven. And what goes on in Vaikuntha? Everybody is playing with that stick. What is that? Dandiya. Disco Dandiya. They are playing. And then, right in the center is the Lord. And I play disco with the Lord. These notions. We are talking of right now. If somebody is hungry right now, you don't wait till afterlife, moksha is equal to lot of food in heaven. If you say that, they will give you moksha instantly. That's what, don't say that. I'm thirsty when now. You can't say, wait till afterlife. There is a lot of somarasa, divine wine, in heaven flowing. This is what it is. So the urge to be free is an uncreated desire, uncultivated, uncreated, and it's here now. And the solution is also here now. You don't have to go anywhere. It's right here, right now. And still, even even though that being the case, this person is just this, this budding Mandu is sitting there, won't open, won't, allow this, the sun of knowledge to shine and open the heart. Nayati pushkare. Why? Because it had enveloped in a personal fog of disbelief, misbelief, fears and tears. That fog has got to go. Yes, you have to defog and then let the thing come. So another slightly far-fetched meaning, but doesn't matter. This it applies. Okay. So now, bhinne tamasi, when what? Ekatvam eva pashyati, anupashyati. Anupashyati means according to the teachings in the Shruti. So how the Shruti teaches, that's what is there. Pashyati doesn't mean starts to suddenly see the Atma. There is no seeing the Atma. Pashyati means understands the oneness. Whatever one sees, yatra yatra mano yati, tatra tatra tava pada pankajam, sees only Bhagavan. Wherever the mind goes, the object of thought is what? The answer to every question is Bhagavan, okay? Yeah, don't disappoint me now, yeah. So, the object of thought is what? Bhagavan. Subject? Bhagavan. The means of knowledge? Bhagavan. That's all. Everything is Bhagavan, and so that is what is called Ekatvam. And that Bhagavan is me. Who am I? Bhagavan. Everything is Bhagavan, and so therefore this darshanam, so this is what is darshan. Darshan is not one, watching, seeing the other. That's just a, interim darshan. Yeah, what you have at the temple actually mimics what is going on in the head. That's why you shouldn't go to the North Indian temple. South Indian temple is temple. Yeah. Go to Madurai, go to all those places. That is what is temple. And what do you see there? You have many passages, and then the sanctum, dark. And in fact, there will not be any lights, these fluorescent and all, it's not there. Because that's harmful to the stone. That's how they have been able to survive for so long. And so, it's all dark. And then there's you don't know what goddess Meenakshi in Madurai, what she is wearing, which sari, you don't know what jewelry, you don't know nothing. Something is there, you know that. You're standing and some small little excuse of an oil lamp. Everything is dark, walls are dark. The deity is made of black monolith stone, granite. Pujari is also dark, coming from South India. You don't see anybody. Yeah. And then suddenly the camphor light. And the camphor light, you're supposed to light up the whole deity. And then you say, she's look at the parrot on her shoulder. Look at how beautiful she is. Oh, you are in awe. And that same awe is right here. Buddhi is dark, enveloped by tamas. Yeah, ignorance. Enveloped in a fog of ignorance. Poor Bhagavan waiting to be discovered right there. Meenakshi is sitting here. The goddess, waiting to be discovered. She just says, open the heart, open the eyes. That is darshan. The darshan is that Bhagavan that you seek is your own swarupa. You have to see it. And to see it, you need the chashma, upanetram, the glasses of Vedanta. That is pramana vishaya, pramana vichara. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, it is very beautiful. So, next one. But how to have this darshan? Go back to meditation is the advice in the next one. Shabdaksharam param brahma.
Shabdaksharam param brahma.
Tasmin kshine yadaksharam.
Tasmin kshine yadaksharam.
Tadvad vinaksharam dhyayet.
Tadvad vinaksharam dhyayet.
Tadvad it should be, right? Tadvidvan. Tadvidvan aksharam dhyayet. Yadi chet chantimatmanah. Yeah. So, how to let go of the fog? How to let go of the fog of the ignorance which is gift wrapped in wrong words, that is the fog. So, how to let go of that? Go back to upasana. What is upasana? Meditation. Yeah. So, what was the upasana given before? Omkara upasana. And we had a long discussion of that. What does a mean, u mean, and a, u, Now, it is, whenever there is a question, how do I come out of this word mania and, this whole fog of words? And the answer is given is very nice. So, Param Brahma. Param Brahma is Bhagavan, Ishvara here. Shabdaksharam. Shabdaksharam means the sound Om and the Akshara, the word Om. That is Param Brahma. So practice that. Practice the Shabda along with, the Akshara, the word. The sound and the word and its meaning of what? Om. Practice chanting that. And if you keep chanting that, I told you it has both Sagunam Brahma and Nirgunam Brahma. We have seen this in detail. It has both Jagat and then what? The creator of the Jagat, and that consciousness without the Jagat, everything is included, right? That is why Om is all in all. Without Om there is nothing. And so Om becomes an important alambanam. Alambanam means a support. Like if you can't walk very well, you need a stick, correct? So the walking stick becomes alambana. And so if you can't see very well, you have glasses. The glasses are alambanam. And so if you can't be with yourself and see yourself very well, Om is the spectacles. Yeah, it's an inner spectacle. To stop that stops the mind from making a spectacle of itself. That is what is the power of Om. That is the wonderful power of Om. And so therefore, Shabdaksharam Param Brahma, this sound and its meaning is Bhagavan. Practice that. Tat kshine, tasmin kshine. So when you start saying Om, 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 Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, you keep saying that, and afterwards what happens? Slowly you become one with the sound. Omness and you become one. And when that happens, Om stops automatically. Tasmin kshine. When the sound stops, when you stop hearing the mantra, then what? Yad aksharam. There is a pun on the word aksharam. So, aksharam here means the word Om is called aksharam. Correct? Why is it called aksharam? Because it doesn't, what is that? Aksharam means here the words, not even the words, the syllables are called aksharam. Because they don't come to an end, because they are the basis of language. The language can change, the meaning of certain words can change, certain words may be out of whatever, but the syllables that make up the words remain. So they are called aksharam. So the first aksharam is indeed Om, correct? So the Om, how you see it, how you write it, all that is there, the meaning. So that Om, that sound and its meaning is called aksharam, that word. And the second aksharam is the imperishable. You. Akshara, naksharati iti akshara. That which doesn't decline is you. Very interesting. So you go with the, with the word Om, that is indeclinable, literally. You don't say Om, Omau, Omaha. there's only one. Omam, Omau, Omaha. Yeah, unless you are from Omaha, then it's a different thing. Yeah, you don't say Omaha otherwise, unless you are from there, then you say that. Okay, so you don't, so therefore it is indeclinable. So this Aksharam Brahma, this indeclinable Om, as a word it is indeclinable, leads you to the indeclinable you. Well, fantastic. What a pun. Yeah. These rishis, they love to play with words. And they had so much fun. Really. So that indeclinable Om, which doesn't have any, any karaka, any, like Ramaha, Ramo, Ramaha, it doesn't have any kind of this thing. You don't say Omaha, Omo, Omaha, unless you are from there, I told you. Yeah. So therefore, it is indeclinable, and practicing it, interestingly, practicing chanting that, what does it do to you? You, quote unquote, discover yourself as indeclinable. And why does the Om stop? Because the Om resolves in the indeclinable. The indeclinable Om, resolves in the another indeclinable, which is you, which you up till now declined to know. Yeah, this is what the whole thing is. It's fantastic. What a lovely verse. So then go back, it keeps taking us back. This is very much an Upanishad that is very contemplative in its nature. Because whenever anybody has a doubt, what should I do now? Okay, I'm caught in the words, in the maya of words. Where should I go? Go back to Om. That indeclinable will kindle the interest for discovering yourself as indeclinable. Tasmin kshine, and kshine means when the chant stops. Oh, that's easy enough. Om, 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 Tat Sat. Okay, enough. I have stopped it after the fifth chant. No. That is a deliberate, what's the word for it? It's a artificial stop. We are talking of something, not a stop, but a resolution. Yeah, a dissolution, a resolution where the mantra resolves into you, where you and the mantra become indistinguishable because you have resolved into the mantra has resolved into you. All that remains is that consciousness from which all thoughts arise. And mantra was a thought, and that mantra which rose and subsided, rose and set like a thought, now completely set. Astameti, what you don't, set, but the mantra has, resolved into you. And then what? You alone are. And who are you? Vidwan, the one who has completely internalized the knowledge. That's why I say listening to Vedanta is waking meditation, because the same thing is happening. The knowledge vritti, you are one, is going, and then what is that? It is resolving into you. It's resolving into you, and it is making you discover the meaning of you. So therefore this is also a meditation. And then after class you sit down and say Om a few times, and I already told you the caveat, attach something to Om. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Dum Durgayai Namaha, or Om Namah Shivaya. And if you say just Om Om, then what will happen? You will become what is called Ubhaya Bhrashta. Ubhaya Bhrashta means neither here nor there. That's not a very comfortable situation. Yeah. Should be fully in whatever you are. Yeah, that is what it is. So Om, so when you go home and chant Om, what happens? It's like reliving yourself in its true form. You're not really, there is no artifice. Because when you're not chanting Om, there is a lot of artifice in talking to people. Oh, how are you? You don't even feel like asking how they are. In fact, you've had a bad day. You don't care. So what but the convention dictates that you say, hey, how are you? You have to say that. Hi, how are you? Hi. And then they will, and what do you expect them to say? Fine. But they don't say fine. They tell you everything, and they tell you not only everything, they tell you that the reason they are feeling bad is because of you. So, like this, there's a lot of constraints and there's a lot of eggshell walking in negotiating relationships. Are you pleased to see me? I mean, what a laden question, a loaded question. And the person has a choiceless choice. What do they have to say? Yes. And then the next question, how pleased? Now that puts you in another quandary. I mean, how to measure pleasedness, correct? So like this, so all the words and all the relationships are laden with a lot of, obligations and artifice. But here, when I say Om, it's the truth. It's really the truth. And you cannot say, Om, I feel terrible, because I feel terrible is not the truth. Om is the truth. And Om is, what is that? Has a lot of muscles to uphold this falsehood. I feel terrible. It's just a feeling. But the Om says, don't worry, pile on everything. I will uphold everything, because all that is just like carrying air. If you carry air, you don't feel burdened. So for Om, which is everything, which is the truth, and the truth is so truthful, and it's such an absolute truth that it can accommodate all the falsehoods as well. It is not deterred by the falsehoods. It is not opposed to Jagat. It is not opposed to anything. It's not even opposed to your ignorance and all the babies coming out of your ignorance. Such as, I don't love myself, I hate myself, who are you, why do I have to do this, I don't like my job, I don't like anything. All this it upholds. It just shines the light. Wherever there is any thought, it shines, it brings it to light. Therefore what? Make Om the thought, and then when that thought resolves, you alone remain, and you are Aksharam. That Om which was Aksharam has become you, Aksharam, imperishable. So the word and the word imperishable are both called Aksharam. A very beautiful pun, very beautiful pun. Tad Vidwan. So which Vidwan? Tad Vidwan. What is that Vidwan? The one who has been practicing Omkara Upasana, meditation. Okay. Tad Vidwan Aksharam Dhyayet. Dhyayet should meditate. Yeah, who should meditate? Vidwan. Vidwan here doesn't mean the person of knowledge. Here the person who is ready who is a Vidwan means who is adept at gaining all the qualifications needed for the knowledge. So that is Vidwan. Or it could be Vidwan also. The one who is knowledgeable, may that sannyasi, may the tyagi, may the jnani be always in Om. So tad vidvan dhyayet. That jnani should meditate, or that person wishing to become a jnani wannabe. What should the jnani wannabe do? Meditate, dhyayet. But why should that jnani meditate? Yadi icchet shantim atmanah. Yadi atmanah shantim icchet, then they should meditate. That's what it is, Then they should meditate. Shanti is freedom from disturbance. Atmanah shanti, that the Atma as free from disturbance. So practicing Omkara Upasana is going to make a disturbed Atma into a non-disturbed Atma. Yes? No? True? False? No? Correct? So what does it mean here? Atmanah Shanti. Atma Shanti. Atmanah Shanti, actually sixth case here. Shanti of the Atma yadi icchet. Here Atma means mind, not Atma. Mind. Mind is often in the Upanishads. That's why this has to be studied properly. Otherwise, Atma means, Atma is Ashanta. This is what the Jainaha say this. This, Jaina Matam. And the Jains say Atma is dirty. It has to be cleaned. Atma is body parimana. Meaning it's as big as the body. If you are really tall, like a basketball player, you have a tall Atma. Yeah. And like this they say. Atma has to be cleaned, and then Atma is Ashanta, disturbed, and has to be brought back to Shanti. It's same that ascent-descent problem. Here, Atma is not Atma, it's the mental state here. So if the Vidwan wants peace of mind, the mind should not be disturbed, correct? Nobody wants a disturbed mind. Then yadi icchet, if the person who is studying this wants a mind that is free of disturbance, because this Upanishad is focusing on a mind, on gaining a equanimity and a mind free of disturbance right from the start. Manohit vividham proktam, it starts with the mind, it is all about the mind. And so here, if you want a mind that is free enough to pursue this knowledge and to really become a Vidwan, please meditate. You must meditate on Omkara. Then you will understand this Pushkara business. Then you will understand everything that was said before. And not only that, you will understand what is going to be told now. What is going to be told hence. Yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah, Ashantasya kutas sukham. There is I think in the 6th chapter, in the 2nd chapter, Ashantasya kutas sukham. Towards the end, in the 60s, there is a verse by Lord Krishna, Nacha bhavayata shantihi, Ashantasya kutas sukham. So why do I not want Ashanti? I don't want Ashanti because it is asukha. Asukha means very sukha, yeah, shushkaha, dry, So Ashanti is equal to asukha. Ashanti is disturbance, and so when there is disturbance, there is sorrow. Disturbance is equal to sorrow. So mind, disturbance, a disturbed mind is a sad, sorry mind. And a sorry reminder of the fact that I need Omkara Upasana. And so this mind in the Bhagavad Gita is talked about in a very beautiful way. Sangat sanjayate kamaha, kamat krodhaha abhijayate, krodhat bhavati sammohaha, sammohat buddhi vibhramaha, smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha, buddhinashat pranashyati. It's a very sad trajectory of what happens when you entertain a thought that is not good for you, especially a desire that is not manageable. It is managing you. Not that you have to control the desires, you just don't have to be controlled by them. That's what it is. You learn to manage them. Desire is not bad. It's how I am, allowing it to enslave me. That is what has to be stopped. And here the person says, oh, this is just a small thing. I'll just go look at this new item that has come in the market. New electronic, gadget. iPhone 7, Yeah. That is what. Once I was going to a conference in New York and I had to drive from one side to the other. We all had to go. 25 people. It was at 2 different places. I had to go to a synagogue. And that bus which was supposed to take us never came. And the person called and said, it's all completely a mess on this west side of New York City. I said, why? Manhattan. And Madhattan, that's what it was. I said, why? Because iPhone, some number, I forget what it was, maybe it was 5 or 6, has been released. I said, what does that have to do with the traffic stop? No, because everybody is going to that one Apple shop where only the first 200 have come. And so the first 200 customers, it was sold out in a matter of minutes. So this is what it is. So this person doesn't need a new iPhone, but goes to the shop anyway. I'll just look at it. And then I'll just pet it once. I I just see how it feels, what's the weight of it. And then, okay, let me just press it. That's all it is. Sangat, association, the closer you keep it to your chest, the greater the desire for it, correct? Bandha. Bandhaya Vishayasaktam. It was said. That's why I'm quoting this part. And then, and then what happens? Then the person says, okay, because they don't want to leave you alone with this iPhone. So they say, okay, are you going to make it? No, let me hold it for 2 more minutes. Then you smell it, you kiss it, you say, oh, this feels really good. Let me put it in the pocket and see what it feels like. See, I don't even notice it. It must be meant for me. But I already have another iPhone. But no, this has so many features, new features. This can make coffee. You press this, you press this button, hot coffee comes, Yeah, straight away. And then, this is just, it has all kinds of things. It's bigger, it's better, it has more features. And by now you have said, oh, it's all in installments. Because, these people who are there to sell things, they were not born yesterday. And they are just there to catch hold of bakras, who come to the shop. Bakra here means sheep flock mentality. Everybody has come, They do what the other people are doing. They just know how to imitate. And so all these people come, and the shopkeeper, the salesperson, is very good at what they do. They just, here, let me do some numbers. You don't have money, don't zero down. Zero down, my spirits are up now. Oh, wonderful. I don't have any money. Don't worry. You don't have to pay anything. You just pay for the next 5 years. That's all. Keep paying for it. And you have to be contracted with us, whatever that company is, phone company. And you keep paying. And then at the end, you would have paid twice the amount of the phone, including the interest, which we are not going to tell you about. Because we want to keep it all interesting. So like this is what the whole thing is. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. And then what happens? That is the last iPhone, and then you took a little too long to make up your mind in that Manhattan shop, and then somebody else who had already booked it online came, and the salesperson said, sorry, even though you are holding it, this has already been purchased by the person who is tapping you on the shoulder to, release your claws and then leave their phone, give it to them. Then this person had already imagined that the phone is walking along hand in hand with him. And this person had already imagined all the calls and everything that they would do. And then suddenly was there on time, but stupid, was always indecisive because of this indecision. Not because of indecision, because the pockets were loose, let out to, there was nothing in the pockets. No, because of indecision. Didn't get this. Oh, the anger of this person. Very angry. Gives that person a glare. The one, and then says in his mind, next life you will be a 4-footed creature. No human birth for you because you've taken the phone, from my paws. How could you do that? Just because I paused for a few minutes, you just basically snatched it from me. And then so angry, goes out of the shop, collides it with somebody, gets even angrier. Then krodhat bhavati sammoha, delusion, goes to the next shop, everything sold out, goes online, everything sold out, you have to wait for 15 days. 15 days seem like 1,000 years for this person without any without any restraint here. Then what? After that what? Smriti Bhramshaha. The memory is gone. Why I wanted this? What is this all about? Nothing. Who am I? What is this defining me? Yeah, nothing is talked about. Vango, come. Is this defining me? Is this really who I am? Nothing is being understood at all. And then so therefore what? Therefore this whole thing, buddhi nashat pranashyati. So that for this person there is a lot of Ashanti, and because of this Ashanti, what happens? There is no Sukha. This was talked about. Because of Ashanti, no Sukha is there, only Dukkha. And because there is only Dukkha, yeah, please sit. Because there is only Dukkha, then this is the fate of this person. So Omkara Upasana, what it does is that it removes this Dukkha by giving Chitta Shuddhi. Yeah, Chitta Shuddhi means all these raga dveshas and desire for nonsensical things like this phone go away. Because I have understood that this kind of desire is at best phony. Yeah. So therefore it goes away. And so therefore what? So therefore, Vidvan dhyayet. May the Vidvan, what happens? May they contemplate, may they understand, may they contemplate on Om. Okay? Yeah. Moving to the next one. I think what we will do is, instead of meditation, we will do this for half an hour, because we can definitely use a little more time. Okay? Yeah. Verse 262. Thank you, Karthik and Nirmala. Very nice. Helpful. Yeah, so that is what it is. Tad vidvan aksharam dhyayet. So may one focus on the imperishable as the truth of oneself. Yadi icchet, if one wants shantihi atmanah, peace of mind. Peace of mind here is defined as what? As freedom from ragadveshas, nirvishaya, vina asakti. Vishaya sangha is not there. For such a mind, which was described in the first verse, how to get that is through the practice of meditation. Next one. Dve vidye veditavye tu.
Dve vidye veditavye tu.
Shabda brahma paranchayat.
Shabda brahma paranchayat.
Shabda brahmani nishnatah.
Shabda brahmani nishnatah.
Param brahmadhigacchati.
Param brahmadhigacchati.
Yeah. So this is very interesting. Dve vidye veditavye. Where have we seen this? Bhagavad Gita. Correct? Which chapter? 15th chapter? No. No. Where have we seen this? Dve vidye veditavye paracha aparacha. Mundakopanishad. Dve vidye veditavye, means there in the Mundakopanishad, the student goes to the teacher and says, come in front. All those who, you can come in front. So, Dve vidye veditavye is a part of a conversation between the teacher and the student, and the teacher here. Who is the teacher? Angi who? Angiras. Angiras. And who is the student? Shaunaka. Very nice. So Shaunaka, goes to Angiras and says, Kasminnu bhagavo vijñate sarvam vijñatam iva bhavati. What is that master key to this knowing everything? If I know one thing, what is that one thing which if I know, I'll know everything. Is there such a thing? And the teacher should have said yes or no, correct? Yeah, it's a very simple answer. But the teacher answers in a very interesting way. Two kinds of knowledges are to be known. Para, the absolute, and apara. Apara means the relative. The relative, the knowledge of the everyday, all branches of knowledge, and also the knowledge of the truth of yourself. That also has to be known. This also has to be known. So that is the context of the Mundaka Upanishad. Here, Vidya doesn't mean knowledge. Vidya has the same meaning as in the Ishavasya Upanishad. Vidya means upasana. Vidyancha yastadvedo bhayagum saha. That is the Vidya and Avidya, So there, Vidya means knowledge, and there in the Mundaka, here Vidya means two forms of upasana, upasana, Dve Vidye Veditavye. Two kinds of meditation have to be known. What are they? Two indeed have to be known. The first one, he says, the Rishi here says, let us call it Shabda Brahma. Shabda Brahma, which is Omkara. In other words, Om. Shabda Brahma is Om in the form of sound. What is that sound? Om. Brahman in the form of sound. What is the sound of Brahman? Om. Okay. And then Param Chagat. And then what? Param means the soundless Brahman. Oh, is there such a thing? I didn't know. I thought there was only one Brahman. Now they are saying Dve Brahme Veditavye. So, two Brahmans have to be known. No, not two Brahmans, two forms of Brahman. One is called Shabda Brahma, that which is revealed as the truth of Om. And then the other one is Param. Param means yourself. Earlier this is just a, sequel to that other one. Earlier we understood this. What did we understand? That this Shabda Brahma, this Omkara Upasana leads you to peace of mind. Correct? So then that peace of mind comes by allowing the Shabda to resolve into what? Ashabda. What is Ashabda? Yourself. When the chant stops automatically, the chant stops, and when the chant stops, what is left is you. And that is called Param. That is called Param. That stopping of the chant, and in that silence, that doesn't mean Brahman is silence. Then afterwards you'll ask me, why did you talk for so long? Yeah. Not that Brahman is silence alone, but in that silence, after all that knowledge, after all that noise is gone, what remains is what? You. When that sound stops, what remains is you. And when you alone remain, and you alone are there, and in that is called Param. So, Dve Vidye Veditavye, two kinds of meditations have definitely to be understood. There is no choice here. Shabda Brahma and Param Brahma. Shabda Brahma is, you can say, Ishvara. Ishvara means, along with all the attributes, Brahman, along with the so-called attributes of Sarvajnaha, Sarva Shaktiman, Sarva Vetritvam, Sarva Vyapi, Sarva Bhutantaratma, all that. So the one who is endowed with the qualities or attributes, as it were, of omniscience, omnipotence, all pervasiveness, all might, everything. So this is what is called Ishvara. Ishvara, who is everything. That is just that same consciousness, that same presence which you call I, wrapped in glitter. That's all it is. You are wrapped in brown paper, that's all, the jiva is like the Eugene presents, in presents in Eugene are never gift wrapped. Yeah. Newspaper and straw, or a brown paper bag, and you cut that out. This is Oregonian. Yeah. This is how it is, it's all organic. Everything is organic, correct? Yeah, so like this. So Bhagavan is the store-bought, special custom-made gift wrap. All shiny, golden glitter with a bow. This one is wrapped up. This jiva is that same conscious presence, that same Brahman wrapped up in a torn newspaper. That's all. That's all it is. Newsprint is karma, okay? All the karmas, prarabdha, they have to, bhujyatam, that they have to undergo in this life. That's the newsprint. All the memory from other lives coming, correct? So that's what it is. So that is the jiva, and then Bhagavan is that same conscious presence, that same consciousness wrapped differently. Upadhi is different. That upadhi is wrapping. It's just a wrapping. So Bhagavan is wrapped nicely and the Jiva is just a wrapper. Yeah, that's all it is. So therefore, we have that same conscious presence, that same Bhagavan in two avatars. One is in its absolute form of all knowledge, all power, lords over the wrapper, body, mind, sense complex. But then the truth of the body, mind, sense complex of the one that is poorly wrapped is the same. So both are one and the same. Just that the wrapping paper is confused for the present. Yeah, that's how it is. In Indian weddings, sometimes somebody will bring a big box. And you think, oh, they must know the bride and groom very well. All nicely wrapped. And inside will be one small little thing. Yeah, one small little, plastic bowl. Yeah, that too glittered, with some silver paint. That is the most common Indian present at weddings. Plastic bowl with silver paint of various sizes. So some mid-sized, mediocre bowl, but then it is wrapped in this wonderful thing and this huge thing. And the people who are carrying it also are looking around to make sure that everybody sees them, and they go like this, oh, can you hold it for a while? One spouse says to the other as they are waiting in the reception line to go greet the newlyweds, oh, it's too much. And you look at this and they say, oh, inside was small little thing. Nothing is yielded. So the wrapping paper cannot be taken seriously. Wrapping paper cannot be taken seriously. This is also true of people giving cash gifts. They don't want other people to know that inside just 100 rupee note is there, They don't want people to know. So then they will wrap it in a lot of paper and then they'll put it in an envelope so it looks nice and fat. And they will be saying, oh, it's so hot today. And they will fan themselves with the envelope to make sure that the person, is looking. Oh, what's that you're fanning with? Oh, it's just a gift for the bride and the groom. This is the situation. So don't go by the wrapping paper. The covering is not, that's why it's called covering. And Vedanta is all about uncovering. We are not impressed even with, in Vedanta, we are impressed by Ishvara, but we are not impressed by Ishvaratvam. Because that Ishvara is Tvam. That's what it is. Ishvara is you. Ishvaratvam means that upadhi-based difference, that one who overlords. And then Jivatvam, the one who feels lorded. Correct? Yeah. So, dve vidya veditavye. So, know that there is Ishvara. Because you see, you can't say, I'm going to do a bypass. This is again, this is what has happened to the Indian roads. First, there is a main road. Correct? And the main road is taken by hawkers and hawks and everything. And then people are just vending, what is that? All illegal shops, tenements, everything. And so the main road has become a gully, a cul-de-sac, a highway. The highway has been reduced to a cul-de-sac. So then the people petition, because this was supposed to be a highway and now it is taking, it's like going through a neighborhood now. It's taking 3 times as long to go. So therefore everybody petitions, and then what do they get in return? The government says, all right, because you see, the hawkers and people who establish themselves on the road in India, they are imperishable. They are aksharam. Yeah, you cannot remove them. Yeah, you cannot remove them at all. Okay? So if you cannot remove them, what do you have to do? Build a new road. It's called bypass. Then the hawkers are very upset because here they have, they have their thelas, their trolleys, and they are selling all their wares, and everybody is coming, and it's hot, and so the coconut water wala is making a living, and then here some mithai wala and some other walas and walis are all very happy because they are getting everything there. But then suddenly it has become a ghost town. No car is passing through because everybody is taking the bypass. And then what happens? And the hawkers, they are like the ants. When the ants are there, you say, oh, here I have kept a sweet dish. They are coming. So you remove the sweet dish and keep it there. Within minutes, they have gone there. So the hawkers go where there is business. So very soon the bypass has also got clogged up. Correct? Yeah. So that is not the kind of bypass here. Dve vidya veditavya means both these forms of meditation are important. Saguna Brahma Upasana is called Shabda Brahma here. Shabda Brahma Dhyayet. So you meditate upon Ishvara. Why? So that you can discover Ishvara as yourself. And of course the human mind goes, but why do that if this is the point? The point is, Param Brahma. Without upadhis and everything, I have to understand it as free of everything and I have to understand it as me. Why bother with Ishvara? Ishvara is boring. I have to just, focus on me. And besides, I'm an atheist. So therefore, I came to Vedanta thinking that I don't have to touch Ishvara. And I'll go straight to Brahman. Direct flight, no stops. Non-stop. Because usually the flights have stopovers, correct? Layovers. Here there is no layover. Yeah, there is no layover, there is only an overlay. That's what I want you to understand. So I want to go straight to Brahman. All this upadhi, I don't want upadhi, that's boring. Ishvara, boring. And what I want is just pure Brahman. Pure consciousness. Pure awareness. And it's all about me, right? Yeah. So why should I bother with Ishvara? Why Ishvara and why now? Dve vidya veditavya. Two forms of Bhagavan have to be known. Two forms of meditation have to be practiced and perfected. Nishnataha, perfected. Why is it said that? Because if the point, this is the question of the teenagers. They say that if Brahman is me, why should I go to temple? Very important question. Yeah. Do you know that Brahman is you? No. Better go to temple. Yeah. Because until you know what is in between the temples here, better go to the temples there. Yeah. It's all about that temple. So that temple leads me to this temple? Absolutely. How? Because it straightens out the thinking. Yeah. That's what it is. Because you can't get to pure Brahman without Ishvara. Why? Because you live in a manifest universe. In manifest universe, the only relationship you have is between Jiva and Ishvara. That's the only thing possible. No, but I will wait till Laya. Laya means what? Everything has dissolved, resolved. And in Laya, I'll get one-on-one with Bhagavan. One-on-one with pure Brahman. Not Bhagavan, pure Brahman. Because this person has little hives when you say Bhagavan and Ishvara. Ishvara, Guru and all gives rashes. Yeah. For this fellow. And so therefore, I want pure Brahman. No, that will only be when the world has gone into a place of demanifestation. I'll wait. Will you be there? If everything goes into demanifestation, are you going to be manifest or not? Let's think. Is this a thought? Is this something you have to think about? If everything is demanifest, how are you going to be there? It's like, the physicists asking the question. This is actually real. So the physicists have found out that our neighboring galaxy, a Mahasura, big Asura, they're much bigger. This Milky Way is like a little, pinwheel for this galaxy, which I'm talking of. Our neighbor, called Andromeda, is at least 20 times or 50 times bigger than the Milky Way. It's like an Asura. Fact number one. Fact number 2, it is coming on to the Milky Way at an alarming speed, but not alarming enough for us to be alarmed. But in terms of the physicists, what they are seeing is that this galaxy is coming closer and closer to the Milky Way. And then what's going to happen is inevitable. This, there cannot be two galaxies side by side unless they are far away. If they are side by side, one becomes the predator and the other prey. Yeah. The one is swallowed by the other. And how does that happen? In the center of each galaxy is a bada black hole or a chota black hole. So the black holes merge. It's very beautiful. They have a simulation somewhere if you go into the NASA website. And so it's like these giant pinwheels coming together. Of course, one of them is smaller and the bigger one preys upon the smaller. And the black holes merge and then the wings are in all directions, or the wings of the galaxies. And then they all, somehow by the laws of physics, they merge into one. And the physicists are asking this question, in order to see this celestial show, where should we be seated? Should we be near the black hole? Oh no, we may fall. No, we should be in the outward wing, but then we may be cast off because some of the wings just burn off. So no, we should be in the middle. That's good, because if we look back, then you see what's happening with the wings, and then if you look forward, you see what's happening with the black holes. You get both the views. This is as absurd, That's just a hypothesis. And they say, they are the first ones to say, this is a hypothesis. Why? Because, first of all, it's a matter of inference and assumption where the solar system is located in the Milky Way. That also they don't know. Is it on the wing? Is it close? Is it near the center? We don't know. It's all an assumption. And how that Andromeda, will the black holes collide first or will the wings, collide first? That also we don't know. And everything will be destroyed, of course, but we don't know anything. But then we are saying, where are the box seats to enjoy the best, highly paid seats, This is just speculation. Just like the other speculation, what happens if you fall inside the black hole? Where time and space are not there, okay, you will never age. Fantastic, that's good. But then the other theory is that time and space are not there, but by the time you go to what is called the event horizon, the surrounding area of the black hole, it's a blazing, it's a blazing inferno. And so what falls in is a pakoda, not you, it's a fried crisp. That's all it is, because it's not you anymore. And then there are some people who say there are two realities. One part of you is there in one reality, and the other part of you sees this one part falling in to the black hole. Both are all kinds of possibilities, but those are just mere speculations, as absurd, as delightfully absurd as this naive person saying, I will become one with Brahman, I will wait for Brahma Vidya to become one with Brahman when the Laya comes. Like the elephant who says, I have somehow got up on the tree, I'll wait for autumn to come, I will sit on a leaf and wait for autumn to come, and that's how I will get down from the tree. Not happening, okay? So why? Because we live in a manifest universe. The only form of Brahman that is available happens to be Ishvara. Oh, too bad, I was enjoying Amrita Bindu Upanishad. Until today I had a good time. Too bad. The only form of Brahman is this. No, but I am also available. Yes, but you have to know this. Are you happy being who you are? Well, no. I honestly no. So then, what do you want to be? I want to be free. I want to be great. I want to be without limits. Okay, that's Ishvara. Ishvara is free, Ishvara is great, Ishvara is the overlord, Ishvara is without limits. No, but then how to become Ishvara? You don't have to become Ishvara, you are Ishvara. No, but why I'm not understanding it? That's why I need an altar of surrender to alter this, whatever is going on in between these temples. Yeah. The temple for us is not some place where we go and profess our faith. That's not the place of the temple. A collective profession of the faith. No. It is an individual altar of surrender. There can be 100 people there, but each one is praying one-on-one. It's a one-on-one relationship. I make a connection with the invariable. And the invariable is what comes in my life in forms that I do not like and I cannot accept. I cannot accept the invariable because I'm afraid of it. And the invariable is karma, the invariable is durita. That's why every puja, mamopat durita kshaya dvara. Shri Parameshwara Prityatham Ahamidam Karishye. May all the obstacles resolve. This is what we say at the beginning of every puja. And so, my limitations, my fears and everything, they become a block to seeing myself as Ishvara. And then along with that, there is something else going on. And what is that going on? My own hurts from authority figures. Mother, father, caregivers, whatever. You know, no matter how wonderful mothers and fathers are, they are fallible. And the child is very sensitive, it knows that. Oh, mother is unavailable. Sometimes you're there, sometimes not there. Father is inconsistent, conditional. I love you, therefore sit down. What is this? What is the connection? If I love you, why should you? If you love me, that's fine. Why should I sit down? No, sit down. Why? Because I love you. So the child doesn't know. It's walking on eggshells. It has this, fear of authority. Because the people in authority, they are themselves fallible. They did their best, but their best was not good enough for this child who is very sensitive, who knows. And so therefore what? So therefore the person starts to search for the infallible at a young age. And this little person, this little jiva-let. And what does the jiva-let do? The jiva-let puts its faith on the mother and the father completely. Mother is Bhagavan, mother is Bhagavati, father is Bhagavan, completely. Puts the whole faith in Bhagavan. These are gods. I can't even move. I can't even turn over. I need help to sit up. And these people can walk and talk. Look at them. They are great. They must be God. And then, as Pujya Swamiji says, the first time the child sees a cockroach, goes and says, "Mummy," and catches hold of the sari. And mummy leaves the child, down and then climbs on the dining table. And then what? Mummy calls daddy. Daddy doesn't even come into the room. Daddy says, until it goes away, I'm not coming. So the child says, what happened? What happened to my gods? These devatas that I thought were taking care of me, they are more scared than I am. I thought I'll go to them. And then the child finds very distastefully the child finds out that the parents lie and they are not consistent. They are deceptive and they purposely, bend the truth in so many ways. And then not only do they bend the truth, then they say, we are doing it for your own good. And and then they justify it. And they bend the truth while telling you to tell the truth. This is what happens, I still remember one great aunt or somebody I had, so then I was there when I was small, and then she looked out of the window, she heard somebody come in and she didn't want to meet them. So she went and hid in the puja room. And she told me, I was 6 or 7 years old, and she told me, tell them I am not at home. So I opened the door and of course they hadn't come to see me, I'm a child, And so they said, where is this great aunt? And I said, she told me to tell you that she's not in the home and she's not at home, but she's in the puja room. And I got a big scolding, What? and of course she didn't tell me anything directly. She told to some other people, she told, this child is useless. Yeah, this child is useless. You can't tell her anything because, she just gave me up. Yeah, so then she was smoked out of the puja room. So that's the thing, that's how it is. So children don't know. Because if they are told to tell the truth, they will tell the truth. They will not lie, The child will say, even if if somebody is coming at them, tell them I'm not here. Oh, father is telling me to tell you that he's not here. This is how it is. So this disappointment keeps gathering up and finds additional steam in teenage, and keeps on gathering. And that fear, that insecurity, and that unconscious, that anger, it all is part of the child's unconscious, which doesn't bother the child in the young age, but it comes out in adulthood. That has to be resolved before embarking on Vedanta, really. Vedanta is for people who are committed to resolving the unconscious. And so here, therefore, dve vidye veditavye, 2 forms of meditation have to be practiced. One is a prayer. One is not a meditation at all. One is prayer. It's a manasam karma. It's a mental prayer. Because you see all this anger, this fear, this pain of authority issues, distrust, everything has to be taken somewhere, and the child is looking all its life after life, this inner child is looking for the infallible and cannot rest until the infallible is discovered as Bhagavan. We don't say Bhagavan is infallible, that which is infallible is Bhagavan, then otherwise it's a setup. So therefore, I have to have a relationship with Bhagavan where I have one place where I can say, where I can be my authentic self, my authentic, angry, rabid self, full of problems and fears. And only in the Hindu tradition, even this becomes a prayer. Drape, andhasaspate, daridragnila lohita. You're telling this to Bhagavan. Oh, you idiotic one. Oh, you the one who impoverishes all of us. Oh, you the one who is giving me bad karma. My own karma you are gift trapping so badly and giving me. How dare you do this? It is a prayer. Because that anger directed properly, becomes that Ishwarized anger is prayer. So Ishwarize your emotions, that is prayer. When something is Ishwarized, even the worst negative emotion, if there is one, when it is Ishwarized, what Ishwarized means what? See it as part of the order. It is the order. Given such a background that this child will feel this way in adulthood, it's part of the order. And psychologists will tell us that. So that order I respect and invoke the maker of the order to give me a little bit of freedom from this order. In fact, recognizing the order itself gives a lot of peace and freedom of mind. And I lay down my resistance. Next step. First I recognize the order, and then I recognize myself in this order. I recognize the inevitability and the absoluteness of this order, that this is how it had to be. This is my parentage. This is who I married. This is the kind of children I have. This is what it is. And it is okay. Why? Because this is what it is. What it is cannot be what it is not. So what it is only what it is. So it is okay. It is okay with me. That is the resolution. And until that resolution, better practice Shabda Brahma. Here Omkara Upasana in the form of Ishvara. Omkara representing Ishvara. Shabda Brahma is the first vidya that should be practiced. And then what? Then Shabda Brahma and Param. Shabda Brahmani Nishnataha. Nishnataha means what? A perfected. The one who is adept. The one who is skilled or adept, or the one who has perfected, prayer, understanding Bhagavan, resolving the differences in Bhagavan, and then what? Parabrahma adhigacchati. Naturally gains the truth of oneself as, as the ultimate. Naturally gains the truth of oneself. So which one should I practice first? Definitely Shabda Brahma. This is not this is not rocket science. Very, very basic. So, Shabda Brahmani Nishnatah Param Brahma Adhigacchati. Adhigacchati means definitely goes. How will I understand this Brahman as myself, this Ishvara as myself? Because when the Ragadveshas are offered as the flowers on the altar of surrender at the feet of the Lord, then what happens? There is swachhata in the mind. The mind is swept clean of all the bats of doubt and despair, the cobwebs of distrust, and the fears and tears of stalactites and stalagmites in this guha. Just like Meenakshi's sanctum Lord Meenakshi's goddess Meenakshi's sanctum sanctorum. And just like this dark, the cave is full of ignorance. But then the surrender to Bhagavan outside, what happens? It lightens the cave. Yeah. And then it also gives enough punya to take one to the knowledge, to the teacher. Even if you are living in North Pole, you will be able to take the classes. Yeah, like that. It makes the classes walk into you rather than even you don't have to search for it. And then, there is a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. The teacher doesn't appear, the teacher was already there. I just didn't look up because I was not ready. When I was ready, I saw the teacher, you have come. The teacher says, I never went. I was always here. You discovered me now. Teacher doesn't come or go. Teacher is. And when you are ready, the teacher is discovered. And so that's how the whole thing is. So Shabda Brahmani Nishnatah Param Brahma Adhigachet. Very important to remember that this Param Brahma, the Brahman without wrappings, is not something that happens automatically. It's not that it is gained through meditation. Meditation is the auxiliary method of gaining this. It's not the primary method. It is through meditation one gets Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Nischalata. Chitta Shuddhi, all the fears, authority issues, etc. are gone, Ragadveshas are gone. Chitta Nischalata means the steadiness and the readiness for the knowledge has come, then the knowledge takes place. Then you say, I am that Param. So first you have to unwrap that big gift. You have to unwrap that wonderful shiny wrapper. First you have to look at the wrapper and express your wonder at how big it is. And you have to surrender to that wrapper. Oh, you are so adorable. And look at me who is praying to you. I'm full of tatters and you are the best thing there. And that's how you first surrender and make peace with Ishvara. This is called settling accounts with Ishvara. Because you can't settle accounts with everything in the Jagat. Even starting with your parents, Especially Indian parents, they are made of stern stuff. You go to the Indian parent and say, you spoilt my life and you did this, because this fellow went to America and, learnt a few psychological, terminologies. You spoilt my life, you did this. And the Indian parent will not get, it's very difficult to guilt trip an Indian parent. Indian parents say, so what? You are an adult now, go deal with it. Yeah, that's what they will tell. They are made of strong stock. They will say it's all Ishvara, you were like that right from the beginning. Go deal with it. So, where to go? You can't complain, you can't go anywhere. Then, you can go to a psychologist. Yeah, you can go to the psychologist and the psychologist will say, given your parentage, that you can't even get out of bed is not surprising. Of course you will be like this. It's all because of your mother. It's all because of your father. And the Indian heart does a somersault because that same Indian heart that was finding fault with its parents, that same heart is taught the mantra, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava, Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava. Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava doesn't mean, treat your mother and father as God. No, that's not what it means. It means be the one unto whom mother is an incarnation of God. Be the one, Bhava. You be the one unto whom father is an incarnation of Bhagavan. You know, this local father, mother, I know them. I know all their idiosyncrasies. These, quixotic, quirky, querulous people. How can they be Bhagavan? How should I be? It's not, they are not Bhagavan. You be the one unto whom they are Bhagavan. How to do that? Ishvara is them. Ishvara is the parentage. How? Because see the inevitability. Why do you have them as parents? It's not evitable. It is inevitable. Yeah. It could not be otherwise. See that and make peace with that. That's what it is. That is why Vedanta is not therapy, it is super therapy. Where else to go but Ishvara? There you go and complain. Why you gave me parents like this? What were you thinking? It becomes prayer. They don't understand, they don't listen. They are so idiotic. Why did you give me such parents? It becomes prayer. And that's why all the devatas are happily smiling and they say, calm down. Yeah, the hand is like this. Calm down, it's okay. It's okay. How can you stand there saying nothing? That becomes a prayer. Just because you are smiling, I'm not going to give unto you. All right, no problem, I'll continue to smile. And because Bhagavan doesn't talk back, Bhagavan becomes a super therapist, best form of therapy. Completely confidential, doesn't go anywhere. And unlike the psychologist, he is never late for an appointment. Everything, the therapy is going very well, and on the fourth visit, the therapist is late and the patient is very upset. Oh, don't you know that everything is late in my life? That's a very big issue and you were also late. Bhagavan is never late, ever on time. So this way, one is a therapist to oneself really. With the help of Bhagavan's grace, one overcomes, very difficult things like difficult parentage, difficult life, difficult marriage. All these things are not something to always run away from. If you can run away, run. If you can't, and if you have the wisdom that if I run away from this, something similar to this will come. If you know that, then no running. Stay. Sthane is the word. Stha, to stay. Sthane means everything is appropriate. Everything is okay. I am okay, you are of course okay. You tell Bhagavan, and that is what has to be, that has to happen. That itself is Vidya. That is a very big form of adoration and worship. And that worship is resolving all the pain and anger and fear, frozen from childhood, waiting to erupt. All that is resolved beautifully. And then you are ready for Param Brahma, which we will talk about when? Tomorrow, early morning, 6 o'clock. Don't come at, what is the other time we were having classes? 7:30. Yeah, 1.5 hours before, okay? 6 o'clock, there are 4 more verses to complete. And so we will do that tomorrow. And then I don't know when it will finish. So after that, we will have our valedictory program. 5 verses? Oh, not 4?
5.
No, 5. Okay, the last one is the conclusion. It's okay. Yeah. Yeah, 4 plus verses, 5 verses. Okay. All right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Yeah, some prasad we can give. It is there. Oh, come. Thank you. Nice apples, organic, of course. we can thank our Krishna. Oh. Nice food you made, huh? Thank you. Papa. Oh. You met your friend?
Yeah.
Very good. Come. Come.
Today, this lectures to have to stir up all
You
memories.
stirred up old memories? Yeah, they will go now. They will go. Just go in there before you go home. Go there. Yeah. Oh. Come. Wango, come. Wapa. Here. Take.
Sorry. Don't mind it. The speaker.
Turn it up.
Who are you?
I'm Shiva's sister.
What's your name?
My name is Sita.
Sita. Wonderful. Welcome.
He's my husband.
What is your name? Krishna. Wonderful. Come. We have two Krishnans visiting. Come. Come, Shiva. Come. Home. How are you, both of you? Excellent to meet you.
Yeah.
And what is the baby's name?
Sai Advait.
Yes, I'm going to see if he come to me. Will he come?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let other people also see him. Yes, let people see Sai. There he is. There he is. Say hi. Say home. Yeah, do you see yourself? Yeah. There. It's a visiting scholar. Yeah. Yeah. Who's that? Is that you? Is that you? Yeah. Hmm? So beautiful. Very calm, peaceful. Peaceful baby.
Okay, now only.
Now only. It's going to change from now on. It's going to-
I hope not.
Yeah. You're so cuddly. Yeah. What makes you so cuddly?
The answer was Bhagavan. You said to everything tonight.
Exactly. Delicious, huh? Yeah, you can't eat my hand.
So comfy.
Very comfy.
What a smile.
Very cute. So glad that you both are here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, now you both are in Eugene?
We live in Portland.
You live in Portland.
Yeah.
How lovely. Wonderful.
So he works in Intel and she's also got a job now.
Where?
Intel.
Intel also?
Yeah.
Perfect. Lovely.
We actually moved to San Francisco. So
You
we
moved to
just-
San Francisco?
Yeah.
Oh, when?